This tutorial is the resultant condition internal feature. To start off, open up the resultant condition internal PDF file. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to introduce you to the resultant condition, and we're going to apply it to an internal feature. So to start off, we'll look at our flowchart here. So a resultant condition is the variable inner boundary or the variable outer boundary, depending on the condition that we apply to the material, so an MMC or an LMC. In this case, we're going to be using the internal feature hole. Now, the MMC, it's going to be a variable value, and this is going to be an outer boundary. So if you remember when we did the virtual condition, the virtual condition was the inner boundary. So we define the inner boundary with MMC, and then the resultant will be a variable value all the way out to the outer boundary. Now this is the opposite case with the LMC for an internal feature. It's variable and it's the inner boundary. When we did the internal feature virtual condition, the virtual condition was the outer boundary, and the LMC will be a variable value to the inner boundary. So we'll start off at the outer and come in variably to the inner. Now again, I have my little examples here, and this is kind of like your formula of how to calculate it. So for the MMC, the resultant condition of an internal feature is the variable size of the feature plus the variable tolerance of the feature. This results in a variable value for the resultant condition. So the resultant condition is the variable feature size plus the variable feature tolerance. So in our MMC condition on the left, we're going to have 25.1 plus 0.1, and this is going to be variable all the way up to 25.5. So we're going to use all the values in between. We can do it in increments of 0.1, and we'd add those values all the way to create our outer boundary. So in this case, our inner boundary from the last, from two examples before, was 25, and our variable outer boundary will be 25.6, as it's 25.5 plus 1. For the LMC, the resultant condition of an internal feature is the variable size of the feature minus the variable tolerance of the feature. This results in a variable value for the resultant condition. Again, in this case, we're using 25.1 to 25.5, and we're going to be subtracting our 0.1 tolerance. This is going to make our inner boundary, and our outer boundary from the virtual condition was 25.5 plus 0.1, and we're going to get our inner boundary by subtracting these. And this concludes our tutorial on the resultant condition internal.